Playoff caliber, now championship caliber. Just trust the process, and that process is.
All right, and welcome into episode 3 of the Blue Cheese Blitz, a podcast dedicated to the best team in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills. Big one tonight, boys. Big one. Got the divisional round game. Baltimore comes into Buffalo. 8:15 kickoff, nighttime, prime time, Saturday night game. Weather looks like it's going to be a factor. Going to be cold, looking like some snow. So that's definitely something to think about. The opponent, the Ravens, coming off 20-13 win over the Titans. They got down 10-0, kind of stormed back. And really, I think the story of the game, there's two of them. They absolutely shut down the Titans' run game. Titans couldn't do anything offensively as far as running the ball, at least with Derrick Henry. And then Lamar kind of took over on offense, which is, he's the reigning MVP. It's kind of what you expect him to do to an extent, but he absolutely took over. I think he had like 150-some yards rushing. So had the long touchdown run that really kind of swung the momentum. But what are some of your kind of initial thoughts on the matchup for this weekend?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Back last week when they were kind of projecting all the possibilities, the Ravens kind of scare me the most with Lamar. Just looking at just as a stat purely, he has more rushes than Motor does for us, which is insane to me. And keeping him contained is always a challenge, but they've also really struggled in the pass game. So to me, it's not to get ahead of it, but one of my keys is, man, we got to really tighten up on that first and second down to kind of putting them in passing situations where we can kind of make him stay in the pocket and be a passer. Because like you just said, they can shut down our run game and they could possibly run all over us because we have gotten gashed this year. So that's a big concern for me.
I think we play that kind of bend but don't break defense. But kind of the scary thing with that is they're so good in the red zone because of the option run, the multiple different looks they give you, and also because they're so proficient with their tight ends. They're so good at hitting them and getting those guys open. So I think that's one thing where you maybe see a little bit less of wanting to bend. I'm not saying they won't get yardage, but I think that maybe is a little bit less of a strategy for us because their downfield passing game doesn't scare you. It's not a terrifying downfield vertical attack. So I think you're going to see a lot of 21 in the box. Jordan Poyer, I think he's going to be down by a lot of scrimmage. I think he's going to have a big game. Him and Micah Hyde, kind of switching in and out and trying to confuse Lamar also and confuse the blocking scheme. It's read based, so that you don't have to block everybody. But if you can kind of confuse where the pressure's coming from, where guys are coming from, and mess up those reads and those blocking assignments, I think that's a big deal. So, Chance, is that something you think you could see us being a little bit more aggressive with our blitz this weekend?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a little bit more pressure coming from guys like Milano and Edmonds. I think this is one game where it might actually fit their play style, just being fast linebackers who maybe aren't necessarily good at dropping into coverage and making plays on the pass game. But if you kind of line them up and just let them spy Lamar a little bit, I think they're both enough where he's not going to run them as much as he does some of those other guys you see playing middle linebacker. Obviously, he's still get by him. I think looking back at last year, though, they had a pretty good game plan. When you go over the stats from it, last year Lamar rushed 11 times for 40 yards. They held Mark Ingram to 15 carries for 50 yards. That's where their tight ends are going to come in and hurt you. Like you saw Hayden Hurst bust off that long one for 61 yards and a touchdown. But other than that, I mean, you had Mark Andrews only had one catch, 14 yards last year. Mark Ingram, 3 for 29. His long was 15. So I think that's the biggest thing. You keep guys like Lamar J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards kind of in check, and then just watch those pop passes, and we'll see how it goes. But I think our defense kind of is as bad as the run game has been this year on our defense. I think this matchup is actually one that we can go out and not shut down, but slow them down a little bit and keep the game where we want it to be.
Right, and I think obviously it's different. But last year we had a great game plan. I think we were really the first team that slowed them down as far as the running attack. Now we had the breakdown in pass coverage. We had a blown coverage. Hurst goes for 61-yard touchdown. They had another touchdown where they got the ball on the 26 going in after a Josh Sack fumble. They had another really short field on an interception where they kicked the field goal. And then they had one touchdown drive, along they drove the length of the field and scored a touchdown. But I thought our game plan was really good. Now, I just hope you don't want to go in with the same game plan and think, hey, they're not going to make any adjustments. I think that's a big thing of coaching is anticipate where they're going to adjust. Okay, so we did this. Now, what would be their answer to it? And then what's our answer to that? And kind of having different multiple things we can do. Like you said, I think you're right. I think we match up athletically good because our safeties are so interchangeable. I thought Teron Johnson had a really good game last week against the Colts. And that would be a big help as your slot corner. I don't know how much he'll be out there because of the sets they run. They have their fullback in the game a lot with Ricard. They have Mark Andrews on the field all the time. So a lot of 21 personnel. So it'll be interesting to see how much Teron plays and how we decide to do it. Do we go with an AJ Klein who's more adept to stop the run, but it's not a typical run game. Like you said, it's Lamar, it's options. So you want athletes in the field. I think you saw that a couple years ago when the Chargers shut them down in the playoff game. That's what they played small. They had athletes all over the field, and tried to match that athleticism. So I think that'll be a big thing. Now on the opposite side, when we have the ball, going against them, they blitzed the absolute shit out of Josh last year, and we did not have answers for it. He was kind of running for his life. Didn't have, we weren't on the same page. Hot reads. I think he started getting scrambling and spooked and trying to do too much. So, and we talked about before about how much more he's matured, but I think we have to be ready for them to blitz a lot and have our answers immediately. And I think that's where, this is why you go out and get Stephon Diggs for this game right here. Hey, they're going to blitz. They got a good corner, but you got to be able to beat him immediately and get open and get separation so Josh can get you the ball. It can't be someone that's, I need to be able to run a 20-yard route to be able to get any separation. Like, we need a guy that can win right away, and that's what I think Stephon brings to the table.
I mean, for me, like looking at last year's game, absolutely abysmal, 4 for 17 on third down against them. That obviously has to change big time. And like you mentioned, they got after Josh pretty good, 6 sacks for 41 yards. Hopefully the consistency we've had in our line this year compared to last year is a lot better. But also, like you just said with Diggs, that quick snap route, or even Bees, I loved. Beasley was basically running the same route last week, just that zone sitting and reading what the corner's giving them and finding that little open space on those 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 plays. That's what we really need. And obviously, like Chance mentioned, the Bills have been so much better at that this year, apart from the last game, 2 for 9. But I really look for them to bounce back on third down to keep this game close for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's where Josh's legs can play a factor, but not necessarily just in the running game, where it can be hey, let me scramble, extend, and find somebody down the field. I think we've been doing a good job of that this year. What are any keys that you think for our offense, Chance?
Yeah, I think getting an early lead will be huge. Obviously, to get the Ravens to abandon their run game a little bit and make Lamar beat you through the air. The Ravens have 2 good corners. Humphrey and Peters is on the field. That's where I think it comes in with, like I said, Gabe Davis stepping up again and making a couple good plays. he's had a couple times this year where he's made some nice catches in traffic. So the Ravens get a little blitz going. He gets over the middle or kind of gets deep on the outside and make a good play. I think that's what it's going to take this week. You're going to see some players step up who might not have had as many chances earlier in the year, with especially with Moss being out too. You're going to have Motor stepping up. We just signed Devonta Freeman. Maybe he gets in and makes a play or two. But I think this is one of those games where you're going to see some unfamiliar faces make a good play, and hopefully the Bills come out on top.
Right. So, and one thing I mentioned at the beginning, the weather could be a factor. I honestly think you would think that it would favor the Ravens if it's if it's a little bit snowy because of the they're running the ball and us being more of a passing team. But this is why, and it sounds it's a cliche. This is why you go get the quarterback with the huge hands that the ball doesn't slip out. He can still throw in this. I think if we say the Ravens passing game is limited, but they still, they got a threat in Marquise Brown. He's a big play threat. They got the tight ends. They got Willie Snead. But if he can't throw in the snow and it's kind of limiting him and it becomes a one-dimensional run, that's, what's one thing. Their run game is so good that it opens up really big, easy passes for them. But if they can't do that and they're one-dimensional and they're only running, I think we're okay with that. Especially you can commit those safeties down into the box. So I think that factor could be a good thing for us, and I think that plays into the the kicking game, the field position battle. We can't afford. I don't think with this team we can afford to lose that as bad as we did again this coming week. And then the kicking thing's always going to scare you a little bit. They got the guy that's probably the greatest to ever do it, and Justin Tucker. But Tyler Bass has been kicking really good lately, so hopefully he's just on one of those things where he's on a roll.
And Tucker did miss a kick last week, right?
Right. Yeah. But that scares me. It's like he's like going to go scorched earth and never miss again for like 4 more years. Yeah.
Go
I wish he would have saved. Yeah, I wish he would have saved his miss for this week. But maybe Adam, you have any kind of super keys, where you think it's the biggest thing for us to hit on to really be a factor in getting a win?
I mean, to me, the most obvious is keep Lamar as a passer. I know he's always probably he's gonna snap off a 12, 14-yard run here and there. We know, like Chance mentioned, we held him to 40 yards last year, and one was a long of 16. Maybe I'll give Tremaine Edmonds a little credit, and it might be he did have 6 solo tackles last year. And where he is good is sideline to sideline, right? He's an athlete. He's quick. He can get to the sideline. But what scares me is if we do dial up some more pressure that creates those little creases for Lamar to squirt out, and there's no one at that second level, that's where he gets real dangerous, past that 10, 12-yard mark. So to me, we really got to focus on keeping him as a passer. And then Dobbins seems like a beast, and I think that's going to be a formidable challenge to tackle him 30 times. So you don't agree? You don't like him?
No, he went to Ohio State.
Oh, God.
They got that fucking ass whooping last night, though.
They play a game this week?
But yeah, I think, keeping those two guys in check, like Chance mentioned, we're probably going to give up yards. That's a factor. I mean, we gave up 470 to the Colts, but we still got the W. So I think it is going to be a pretty ball control game. Points are going to be super important, like you mentioned with the kickers, all that extra points, everything matters in a game like this. So, but Jorquez needs to not just swing as hard as he can with his leg and hope it hits somewhere inside the 10. Maybe actually work on some placement this week, but we'll see. But yeah, that's kind of my biggest worry is Lamar squeaking out on when we get good coverage, and especially in man when our corners have their backs turned. And if we bring some pressure and he squeaks out, man, that's going to be a long day.
Yeah. My guess, without looking at the tape, my guess would be their offense is based off of reads. So Lamar sees something, he knows where Tremaine's supposed to go, but then Tremaine goes to the wrong spot, so he probably ran right into 6 tackles would be my guess. But I think Chance, you want to go ahead with maybe some of your keys or a big key for you?
Yeah, I'd like to see the offense kind of get going and get in the groove early instead of taking a couple drives to kind of get your feet settled. Last week, it almost looked like whether it was play calling or just Josh Allen with little nerves in the playoff start. It looked like it took them a couple drives to get started. I'd like to see those nerves a little bit mellowed out this week. They got the playoff win under their belt. That whole fire is gone. Come out, get the drive going, maybe get some points on the board early and put the pressure on the Ravens to come on execute. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things for the Bills.
Yeah, I think the field position really hurt last week because you come out, you got the pressure of having won a playoff game in 25 years. Josh is thinking, I don't want to make a big mistake, and
Fans are there for the first time.
Yeah, I want to prove that I'm, a settled in. So I think he was playing it maybe a little cautious. So I think that now that that's all gone and you can just focus on playing football, I think he kind of comes out with a hot start. I think
I do want to, you kind of mentioned it, Jericho, but as wonky as that game was last week, we did win that middle 8 section, right? That the last 4 minutes of the half, the first 4 minutes of that third quarter. To me, that would be another thing too. I mean, so many games seem like this year have been won by that in that period there. So, that was where we really okay, we turned it around. We stopped them on 4th. And then, like you said, we drove down, got one, and then came out in the third quarter. So that for me last week, I really wanted us to start fast. But then I was really zoned in on that middle 8. What are we doing? Are we winning that battle in that middle 8?
Yeah. A couple of things I think could be key with as much as they blitzed last year's game, and as bad as Patrick Queen is in defending the run, I could see us maybe trying to establish the run a little bit more. I know we're not great at it. I know they don't give up a lot of points, but if a heavy blitz team, you start slipping guys through on some runs, it's going to slow that down a lot. So I think that could be something that would be nice to back off their blitz packages. I do think they're going to keep bringing it regardless. So I think that's huge. We have those answers for that right away. And another thing, I hope we need to rush Lamar the right way in passing situations. We can't. Our defensive ends can't be flying upfield. If they're the force player that has contained, they can't dip inside. Jerry Hughes loves to do that. He loves to go inside. That cost us the Chiefs game earlier in the year. But they have to rush them the right way. Play it cautious. Keep them in the pocket. We want them to be in the pocket throwing the ball. Especially if we got 7 in coverage and we're only rushing with 4, we have to rush the right way. Don't create those creases where he gets out. And as good of athletes as Milano and Edmonds are, they have no chance against Lamar in the open field. And we saw that last year on Milano. Got absolutely juked out of his body. So, I think that how we rush and staying in those lanes is going to be very important, which we don't get a ton of pressure anyway. So it shouldn't be, it's not like we're sacrificing a lot. But I think that's big. And field position kicking game, it's going to be a dogfight. This isn't going to be a game that we blow them out. I think if we win, unfortunately, I think if it gets rolling in the wrong direction, they could get rolling pretty good, and it could be a long day for us. But I don't see a blowout coming. I think we're going to have to fight, and it's going to be close. It's not going to be an easy victory for us. So I think that dogfight mentality, that just I'm going to try to do anything I can possible to win. That's going to be a big key. So, yeah. All right, we'll go into our game predictions. Adam, we'll start with you.
And like you just mentioned, it is going to be a dogfight. I think it's a true ball control game. Their defense, I think, is ranked 2nd in points allowed. They're, and every little bit counts, but I'm going to go with 24-21 Bills is what I'm going with.
Is that a last second T-Bass field goal, or?
I think we're going to have the lead coming out of the third. I think they make it close at the end, but our D comes through for us again. I think Josh Allen and the offense are the hot topic for the media to talk about, but I think our D is really going to pull us through this next game and step up. Looking for a turnover, this time as well. So yeah, I think we're winning, and then we hold on to that lead.
All right, Chance, we'll go to you. What's your prediction?
I think it's going to be similar to what Adam said. I'm going 30-24. Bills, I think they're going to come out. They're going to get a little lead going. They're going to do what they always do and make us sweat a little bit in the middle there. And then at the end, I think they're going to kind of lock it in a little bit. And, Lamar is going to make a little comeback there. But I think the Bills are going to have a pretty secure lead to start it. Ravens make a little comeback, and Bills will hold on at the end. 30-24. Lock it in.
All right. I got 26-24. Buffalo Bills win with a missed kick as time expires from Justin Tucker to win the game. So I got 26-24. Bills win.
Is it the fans or the wind, or what's going to get to him?
Just everything. He's from Texas. He's kind of a sissy. This is the weather. This is Baltimore. He was a ballet dancer. He's an opera singer. He can't handle it. But I got the Bills scoring a touchdown pretty late, around the 2-minute warning of the fourth quarter. Take
fourth
the lead.
Quarter, Josh stepping up.
Yeah, maybe a touchdown pass to Lee Smith or something. But
my guy.
Then they drive down and miss the kick. So Bills sweep according to us, which you guys probably all could have guessed. But hopefully the Bills play well. I think it's been a good season regardless. And we've had, obviously the Chiefs are a tough matchup for anybody, but the rest of the teams in the AFC, these are probably the two toughest matchups we could have gotten. So, if we make a run here, we're going to have earned it. I know that for sure. So, this has been episode 3 of the Blue Cheese Blitz. And hopefully we will see you soon with a recap of a Bills win. And like I said last time, if the Bills lose, we probably just won't record an episode. So, but that's it. We're signing off, and may your Labatt's Blue be cold, your wings be crispy, your blue cheese be chunky, and go Bills.
Let's go Bills.
No, it's the Bills.
Playoff caliber, now championship caliber. Just trust the process, and that process is work hard.